Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here with a video that's been requested for weeks now. Sorry it took so long to get it to you. Now, whenever something new is coming out in Final Fantasy XIV, people are always questioning how are you going to prepare for it. So I've been getting asked, what are you doing to prepare for the expansion a lot? Of course, there's no preparation that's actually required, minus completing the main scenario quests, but everyone wants every edge we can possibly think of leading into the expansion to make leveling easier or to be able to access new content. In this video, I'll cover the things that I'm doing to prepare, and whether or not new or returning players should really concern themselves about these things. Now, number one should be pretty obvious considering I just said it. Finishing the main scenario quests. This is the only real thing that players can do to prepare for the expansion. Completing the patch 3.5 Part 2 main scenario quests will be required for players to access the next set of new story, areas, dungeons, raids, and any other content that's locked behind physically needing to access new places. This is pretty important if you're currently playing or have resubbed to get caught up recently. Yes, there's also Alexander, the 24-man raids, the side dungeons for roulettes, and you should probably do those as well, but the main story holds priority over everything. Talking about all those dungeons and raids and stuff, you will need a minimum item level of 230 to get through all of Heavensward's main scenario quests because some of the dungeons are item level locked. For that, you'll probably end up farming lore, and the first time bonus you get from completing a lot of the old content should be nearly sufficient, especially if you're working your way up the 24-mans or even Alexander the Creator normal. You should actually be able to hit that pretty quick. Now, if you're someone who's probably not going to be at this point before Stormblood actually launches, they changed the main scenario quests in A Realm Reborn after Heavensward launched, giving them a reward of a higher item level. I fully expect them to do that when Stormblood actually launches, giving some sort of minimum item level of 230 or 240 from the quests themselves, so you probably don't have to worry about it later. Just worry about it if you're trying to prepare now. There is also going to be some content that actually doesn't require you to finish the main scenario to access. The two new jobs, Red Mage and Samurai, probably two of the bigger draws of the expansion, can be unlocked right after you hit level 50, so you can use them to play through the story after the initial 1 to 50 section. Swimming and access to the new housing area, Shirogane, will also not be restricted to the main scenario. There's always going to be a ton of other little features and stuff that everyone will be able to access as well. So you still have some things to look forward to, even if you start playing after or just before 4.0 launches. Now, number two I already kind of hit on as well, and that's gearing up. The next thing players may want to do to ease the initial leveling experience in the new expansion is grab some gear. We already brought up the minimum item level of 230 to finish the 3.5 main scenario, but the highest item level currently available is actually 270. So for level 60 players, eye level 270 gear will likely last until level 65 to 67-ish. The 65 dungeon will probably start to surpass the item level, and 67, the item level surpassing, it's a little bit more. For players looking to prepare for Samurai and Red Mage with some gear, Samurai shares gear with Monk, and Red Mage shares gear with the other casters. Grabbing the best level 60 gear for them should help a bit transitioning immediately into the level 60 to 70 content once you clear level 50 to 60. Speaking of level 50, we know the two will get a set of armor and a weapon as is customary for extra jobs, but the item level of this gear is currently unknown. Picking up the Ironworks armor and saving some tokens for weapons may help with the 50 to 60 content as well. That is, unless you just plan on doing Palace of the Dead for 10 levels and then do all your job quests when you hit level 60 with that gear that you save for that, never really needing a gear upgrade until then. I've gone ahead and done most of the above already, although I'm planning on actually upgrading it while I'm leveling, because I don't plan on doing Palace of the Dead for 10 levels because I want to preserve my sanity. Now, number three is one I get a ton of questions about, and I could probably make a video about it itself, and that's making gil. There's two kinds of people who are likely to be focused on making gil prior to the expansion. That's people either planning on buying the housing in Shirogane, or hardcore raiders looking to heavily invest in crafted raid gear 4 weeks after the expansion launches. Either way, it's not a bad idea. If anything, focus on getting ready to make gil post-expansion. Because we're pre-expansion, there are things that sell and there is money to be made, but a lot of the prices have dived and not a lot of people are purchasing things unless they think they'll be valuable going into the expansion, such as crafting items for housing items, or clusters, or crystals, or demi-materia, or things like that. Things you can do to make gil post-expansion if you have them leveled: crafters, gatherers, desynthesis is great, saving those old materials like I just mentioned for when Shirogane opens up. I went ahead and leveled all my crafters to 60, and capped my desynthesis skill on 3 different jobs. I did goldsmith, leatherworking, and weaver, which will probably be overpopulated in terms of desynthesis levels when the expansion launches, but I do plan on making some money that way. Plan on making the big bucks come launch, plus I have 130 mil and over 1,000 aetheryte tickets as well, so free teleports everywhere. You know, retainer ventures might not be a bad idea as well. Number 4, I'm really not looking forward to Palace of the Dead. So let's not beat around the bush here. We all expect Red Mage and Samurai to flock the game in the first couple of weeks, probably plummeting queue times for anyone not playing a tank or a healer. For this reason, we all do expect to spend quite some time in Palace of the Dead for leveling. For those returning to the game and aren't aware, Palace of the Dead is a multi-floor dungeon with its own gearing and leveling system. Every time you defeat a boss floor and exit, you get experience points for the job outside of Palace of the Dead, so it is a very popular leveling method. On top of that, it has no compositional requirements, so you could beat all the first 100 floors reasonably with 4 DPS, making it a great means of constant leveling without being bogged down by queues. I'd recommend getting your Ether Pool arm and armor as high as possible to easily spam floors 51 to 60, which are the most popular floors to spam. I'm sitting at 99.99 myself, and the only thing I'm questioning at this point is how much I realistically want to do it. If there's going to be any EXP changes, will it be even efficient after 60? I don't think it will be, but if you have any questions about Palace of the Dead, I've got a ton of videos about them on my channel, so just take a look and you'd probably get all the answers you want. And number 5 is it's something I don't need to do. I've got plenty of experience here, and that's getting raid experience. This one's tough because a lot of people are either not raiding right now or in the party finder, and it can be sometimes difficult to get into those raids. But I've seen plenty of people coming to me saying that they're having some success doing party finder for a lot of the creator savage. Getting even just a little raid experience should help you if you plan on raiding going into 4.0, although we do all expect Omega Savage, the first tier, to be somewhat reasonable for newcomers to enter the game, especially with hitting the sort of reset button with that of the expansion. So do your best to try and get a grasp on raiding and primals and things like that if you don't have much experience now. Now, I know that in the comment section, there's going to be a ton of things. Happy, you left this out, you left that out. There's so many individual things, and everyone's kind of doing different things. I mean, some people are leveling multiple characters to have all crafters with specialists. That's the making money in advance thing. Saving up materia, stockpiling Grand Company seals or tombstones. Some people are completing a bunch of temple leaves prior to expansion launch to hand them in all at once on one of the level 60 jobs. By the way, if you do plan on doing that, remember, it got nerfed within hours of 3.0's launch due to issues with crafters and gatherers leveling too fast, so that probably won't work in 4.0 at all, but what does it hurt? I'm still going to have 100 leave allowances, and I probably won't use them when the expansion actually launches anyway, so just throwing that out there as well. Because there's so many of these little things to do, though, there's a million things. I please ask that you comment under the video telling people other things that they could do to get ready for the expansion. And that's going to be a wrap for this video. It's very different from the Heavensward one, where I felt like there was a much clearer goal of what you wanted to complete going into 3.0. Going into 4.0, we're all just kind of curious at this point, so be sure just to be ready to learn your jobs and to do those things beforehand. Get a good grasp on the game if it's something that you feel like you've lost over the months you may or may not have actually been playing. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for all the latest information on Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Stormblood. Thank you, and until next time, take care.